Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stu again. Merced might be losing its downtown California high-speed rail station. In this video, we'll take a closer look at that and the new station option. It's been the case for a while that Merced Station was supposed to be downtown adjacent, located between 15th, 16th, O, and R streets. The California High-Speed Rail Authority floated a different site to the city in January, which ironically isn't actually in the city, at Mission Avenue and State Route 99. This is an adjustment to the initial operating segment between Bakersfield and Merced, cutting 3 miles off the route, which the authority claims would save $1 billion. Let's compare these two sites, starting with the downtown site. The reason these last 3 miles would be so expensive is that they would need to cross under State Route 99, which means rebuilding a portion of the freeway. To reach the elevated station, tracks would also need to rise up on viaduct for the last 3,000 feet, and according to design, that viaduct would need to be wide enough to carry 4 tracks, similar to the Hanford Viaduct out by Hanford, California, that would host the Kings Tulare station. At this stage in the game, the station would not open with more than 2 tracks for the initial operating segment between Merced and Bakersfield. Is it necessary for the viaduct to be larger like the Hanford Viaduct? Unknown. I cut the Merced Viaduct down to 2 tracks as well, since they're exploring budget versions and will be expanding to the original California High-Speed Rail vision of a double-tracked line with quad-tracked stations at some undetermined point in the future. As you can see, I've built this out in Unreal Engine 5. I wanted to explore what development around the station would look like. In some drawings, the station consumes 6 full blocks. In official renderings, it's only 5. I did a bit of both. First of all, there is the aspirational version of this station, the entrance of which is shown in this authority released rendering here, looking like a 2000s Indian casino. The station would be underneath an enormous viaduct wide enough for 4 tracks and 2 platforms. In addition, the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority would have a track and platform of its own. This is the agency through which Amtrak serves the area. That would reach the station on viaduct from the BNSF tracks that carry Amtrak half a mile to the north. Technically, BNSF and Union Pacific rights-of-way here are joined by a roundabout industrial spur, so this connection might still be possible without the viaduct. Another possible connection on Union Pacific right-of-way would be extension of Bay Area ACE service down to Merced, but ACE is currently concentrating its efforts on an extension to Sacramento, and Merced could be a ways off. This downtown station is surrounded by about 15 acres of what would initially be parking. This could eventually become transit-oriented development as medium-density mixed-use 5/1s, where the ground floor is commercial development and the upper floors are residential. I have that area capable of supporting between 500 and 1,000 residential units, which would add somewhere around 1,000 or 2,000 residents to the area and around 300,000 square feet of commercial. This implies potential employment opportunities in the 300 to 1,000 jobs range, depending on the mix of office and retail. This area is hemmed in on the immediate south by the State Route 99 freeway. To the west, R Street, which is a busy 4-lane street, represents another impediment to foot traffic. To the southeast, the viaduct will consume a swath through the city half a block wide, mostly leaving room only for low buildings and parking lots. The main potential for expansion of this area is to the north and east, linking up with downtown. 16th Street, which is also a busy 4-lane road through the area, would likely need to be re-engineered down to 2 lanes and slower speed to fully realize this. While there are a number of small lots in the area that appear to be good candidates for development, larger scale development seems mostly possible along 16th Street, where several surface lots currently supplement downtown parking. These are the lots within a half-mile walkable radius of the station that might reasonably be redeveloped, and this is what downtown Merced might look like after a few decades of being anchored by a downtown high-speed rail station. This would about double the development area immediately around the station, adding as many as 4,000 residents and 2,000 jobs to an already walkable downtown Merced. The new station site is located 3 miles southeast of the originally proposed site on the northwestern corner of Mission Avenue and State Route 99. The station here is initially planned as a single platform and not much more. There are no public engineering plans for this station. The description is as good as it gets for now. I've made an assumption that the authority will purchase the entire plot on the northwest corner of the intersection. This faces the rail right-of-way for about 1,400 feet, which lines up with future platform length requirements. This plot is 33 acres, which is way more than is needed for a basic station. For comparison, the downtown station totals about 23 acres. The site is just outside of the city limits in the transition between rural and suburban space. The Center County Highway Revolt might say it's peri-suburban. If you haven't seen their sponsored video about building more passenger rail in peri-urban central Pennsylvania, go check it out. I have 20 acres of this site set aside as a medium-density mixed-use village. That's about 50% larger than the area immediately around the downtown station. That would leave 13 more acres for access, parking, and facilities at an upgraded station, including a bus depot. This location has more space for all of these amenities, but would its suburban freeway adjacent nature support that? Would it need to be something more typically suburban like a shopping center or a lifestyle center? The site's isolated nature makes the configuration difficult to predict, but something like this could house 3,000 people and employ over 1,000. The land within a half mile of the platform would total about 300 acres. The vast majority of that would be on the west side of State Route 99. The larger adjacent area here is about 1,000 acres. That's a lot of elbow room, but is sprawl the goal of this high-speed rail system? There are half a dozen large subdivisions within 2 miles of this station. More seem inevitable with or without it. However, given its coupling with the freeway, the station site seems doomed to expand automobile usage regardless of any transit-oriented development. I have likely development of single-family homes in the area at about 4,000. Some large-scale commercial retail around the freeway intersection also seems likely if all that goes down. This seems like it would limit denser development to a roughly 100-acre area around the station. For reference, the commercial and civic portion of Merced's downtown covers about 300 acres. The downtown site is also quite close to the freeway, so perhaps that would ultimately suffer a similar, more car-bound state. About 90% of the city's population is within 5 miles of the Mission Avenue site. For the downtown site, that's closer to 99%. Local efforts have touted the city's proximity to Yosemite National Park, but one station isn't any more convenient to that than the other. The difference in travel time can be measured in seconds. The downtown station's main advantage is that it would bring more business to the downtown area. Most people driving to a Mission Avenue station would be avoiding downtown. In terms of construction, it appears that Mission Avenue might be Merced's only chance of being included in California high-speed rail operations for several decades. If Merced sticks to its guns on downtown, they may get left off of the initial operating segment in the San Joaquin Valley and may not be added back until California high-speed rail is operating between Los Angeles and San Francisco. The authority is aiming for 2040 on that, but that seems extremely unlikely at present since there is simply no money for it. California high-speed rail's financial situation is so troubled that it's possible Merced may be left off of the iOS regardless. To cut costs, the downtown Merced and Bakersfield stations have been ditched for now. The only portion left to cut that could still connect to Amtrak Gold Runner service on the northern end is the extension to Merced from Madera. California high-speed rail would meet the Gold Runner at the planned Madera station near Avenue 12, which is currently an isolated field. That's the northernmost station on the route before it turns west toward Gilroy and ultimately the Bay Area. The plan for Merced is for it to be located on a stub that would theoretically advance northward toward Sacramento at some distant point in the future. On top of all of that, Merced isn't even planned as a mainline stop between the time California High-Speed Rail connects to San Francisco and when Phase 1 to Anaheim is fully built out. So what do you think? Should Merced settle for a suburban station that will draw traffic away from downtown? Or should it stick to its guns for possibly 30 years or more waiting for a downtown station? Which do you think has more potential for development and growth? Let me know in the comments. Plenty more videos to come. We'll be heading back to Australia soon, and of course another Stu's news is coming in a few weeks. Don't forget the various ways you can support the channel, from super thanks to buying me a coffee, joining my Patreon page, you can join for free by the way, or checking out my poster store and getting yourself a nifty railroad themed poster. One thing you can say about California High-Speed Rail is that it's never dull. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you on that big, beautiful freeway.